Okay, so here is the salinity stratification activity to show how a saltwater wedge can move in, what it looks like when a saltwater wedge moves into Lake Pontchatrain and the salt wedge stays below the fresher, lighter water. The heavy, dense salt water would be below, and this is going to demonstrate what that looks like. So we have a container with our what we're going to make salt water in the bottom. We've got some dye, Easter egg dye tablets. I don't have any food coloring, but you could use food coloring if you have that. You'll need the salt. I use coffee filters as the same size. It can be larger, but it has to be cover the same size opening that you have on whatever vessel you use. I'm using a vase that I have, and then you measure about, say this is about 3 cups of water. You put about a half a cup of salt in there to dilute in the water, and so we pour our salt in. I warm my water up a little bit so that it helps to dissolve the salt a little bit faster. But as you can see, you know, a lot of times that's what the water looks like at the beach. It's a little bit cloudy because that dense salt water. So let me make sure I don't have any salt on the sides. You want to make sure it mixes well. And it's all down in this bottom. This is going to be our bottom layer. You can mix this up in a different container. You could mix it up in a big measuring bowl like this and then pour your salt water in, whichever way is easier for you. And I'm just going to give this a few more stirs. So now I take my fresh water. I don't put any salt in it. I added 1 tablet, the green color, to resemble fresh water. As I said, the color doesn't matter. And I just put a tablet from the Easter egg kit. So you can use any kind of food coloring dye. I wouldn't use a lot of paints and things, but the food coloring seems to work really well. So I'm waiting for this tablet to disintegrate, and I'm just gonna, I have a good color now, so I'm just gonna take it out so I don't have to wait for it to completely dissolve to have good coloring. Then I take my coffee filter, and I'm not even going to cut it. I'm just going to put it down in there. I've already measured it, and I know that it goes all the way around. It will cover that space, and I'll just drop it down in there. And like I said, you want it at the surface, so just kind of push it around. Now I've left one side of this up so I can pull it out easily, but you can also use tongs to pull it out if you want. And I just very gently pour in the water, colored water. And you want to try not to disrupt the filters so that the water will stay. In the lesson plan I said that you can mix this water by wave energy, wind driven or tidal, or an aerator, and that will mix the water. And this is where having the tongs comes in handy. You just use them to pull out your filter, and as you can see, there is a boundary between the fresh water at the top and the salt water at the bottom. And this will not mix until something physically mixes it all the way to the bottom. So you can imagine a lake, waves don't always hit the bottom at depth, so you don't have mixing. That salt layer just moves into the lake, stays on the bottom, displaces the freshwater on top of it, and then this barrier is where nothing moves in between. So when we talk about oxygen in the lesson, what we know is this area can become depleted of oxygen, and that's typically what happens when you have salinity stratification. You can deplete oxygen in the bottom, and the animals that are there will die eventually. So that's our salinity stratification. This layer will stay like that, and as I said, you can mimic some waves on the top. You notice that barrier doesn't move. You have to have something really strong in order to mix it.